Okay, let's get into it. We're doing a deep dive today into a really intense and crucial chapter in 1 Samuel, chapter 22.
Right. It's where things really escalate between David and Saul.
Exactly. If you've been following, Saul is basically hunting David down. David's on the run, desperate really for safety.
Yeah, so our goal here is to kind of unpack the sequence of events in this chapter, see what it tells us about, leadership, fear, loyalty.
And the, frankly, terrifying result of unchecked power. That seems key here.
Definitely. So we pick up right after David's narrow escape from Gath. Where does he land next?
The text says the cave of Adullam.
A cave. Doesn't sound too regal, does it? But it turns out to be really significant because of who shows up there.
Yeah, this is fascinating right away. First, it's his family brothers, his father's household.
Makes sense. They'd be in the line of fire because of David.
But then this other group starts gathering, much larger group, and kind of a surprising one.
Yes. The text is very specific, about 400 men, and it tells you who they were.
It does. It says those in distress, those in debt.
And those who were discontented. Think about that. These aren't exactly the knights of the Round Table.
No. Distressed, in debt, discontented. It paints a really clear picture. These are the marginalized, maybe the failures, people with nothing to lose.
Exactly. They're on the fringes, unhappy with how things are under Saul.
And David, who's also a fugitive, he becomes their leader.
Yeah.
He's the one they gather around.
And that's such a key insight right there at the start. David's power base, his future support, it doesn't start with the elite.
No, it starts with the broken, the outcasts.
Yeah, this kind of motley crew bound together by hardship. They become the core of his future kingdom. It's leadership born from shared vulnerability, really.
Okay, so David's in this cave. They call it a stronghold, sometimes with family and these 400 guys. But he moves again, right?
Yeah.
To Mizpah in Moab.
He does. Mizpah in Moab, probably safer, outside Saul's immediate reach. And there might be a family link there, through Ruth, his great-grandmother.
Ah, right. But the text gives a specific reason, doesn't it?
It does. It's about his parents. He asks the king of Moab to look after his father and mother.
And the wording is interesting. Until I learn what God will do for me.
Yeah, that's significant. He knows he's in limbo, waiting for direction, but he makes sure his parents are safe first. They stay there while David's in this stronghold.
Until I learn what God will do. It shows he's not just running blindly, he's actually seeking guidance.
Right, and guidance comes through the prophet Gad, who just sort of appears.
And Gad gives him this really direct and honestly kind of strange instruction.
Yeah, point blank, don't stay in the stronghold. Go into the land of Judah.
Wait a second. Judah is where Saul is king? Judah is where Saul is trying to kill him? Why on earth would God, through Gad, tell him to go back there?
It seems completely counterintuitive, doesn't it? From a safety perspective, it makes no sense.
So what's the thinking? Is it just pure faith? Trusting God even in danger?
That could be part of it, trusting God within the land. Or maybe it's strategic, God positioning him in Judah, the land he's meant to rule, maybe to build support there.
It's this real tension, isn't it? Divine command versus, well, common sense survival instincts.
Absolutely. And what does David do?
He obeys. He leaves Moab and goes to the forest of Hereth, back in Judah.
Which just highlights how much he relies on that prophetic word, even when it's baffling or seems dangerous. His faith isn't just talk, he acts on it.
Okay. So David and his, 400-plus men are now hiding out in a forest in Judah. How does Saul react when he finds out? We know he's not exactly stable at this point.
Right. News gets back to Saul in Gibeah that David and his men have been spotted. And the description of Saul is just vivid and pretty chilling.
Tell us.
He's sitting under a tamarisk tree, on a hill, spear in hand, surrounded by his officials, all Benjamites, his own tribe.
Spear in hand. That says a lot. It's not just decorative.
No, it's a symbol of his power, his volatility. He's ready to strike. And he launches into this speech.
To his officials, what does he say?
He basically appeals to their tribal loyalty, asks them, can David give you fields and vineyards like I can? Can he make you commanders?
Sounds like he's trying to buy their loyalty. Or remind them who holds the purse strings. Insecurity, maybe.
Definitely insecurity mixed with accusation. He flat out accuses all of them, says they've conspired against him.
All of them? Wow.
Yeah. Claims nobody tells him anything, not even about Jonathan's covenant with David, that bond they had.
He feels totally alone, betrayed. Even twists Jonathan's actions, claims Jonathan incited David to lie in wait for him.
Which is the complete opposite of the truth. Jonathan was protecting David, but Saul's paranoia just completely reshapes reality for him.
He sees plots everywhere, enemies even among his closest circle, his own son. It shows how fear doesn't just warp reality, it kind of creates a false one.
Exactly. And right at this moment, while Saul's in this state, someone steps forward, Doeg the Edomite.
Ah, Doeg. We've met him before, Saul's chief herdsman, right? An Edomite, so a bit of an outsider in Saul's court.
That's him. He's standing there with the officials, and he offers Saul some information.
Information about David.
Yes, specific information about David's earlier visit to Ahimelech, the priest at Nob.
Okay, what does he say happened?
Doeg reports that Ahimelech inquired of the Lord for him, gave David provisions, and this is crucial, gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistines.
Now, based on chapter 21, that's factually accurate, isn't it? David did get bread. He did get Goliath's sword from Ahimelech.
It is factually correct. Ahimelech did those things, likely thinking he was helping Saul's respected son-in-law on a royal mission. But Doeg isn't just reporting facts.
No. What's he doing?
He's presenting those facts as evidence of conspiracy. He's twisting Ahimelech's actions, making it sound like the priest was actively aiding a rebel against the king. He's weaponizing the truth.
And Saul, already primed with paranoia,
Lashes onto it immediately. His reaction is swift and truly terrifying. He sends for Ahimelech and his entire family, all the priests at Nob.
the entire family. Oh, wow.
Imagine being summoned like that. The priests probably think the king needs something, maybe religious counsel. Ahimelech approaches respectfully. Yes, my lord. Seems he has no idea what's coming.
But Saul doesn't give him a chance.
No. Straight to the accusation. Why have you conspired against me? You and the son of Jesse. He throws Doeg's report back at him, the bread, the sword, inquiring of God, presenting it all as proof of rebellion.
So Saul's just projecting all his fear and suspicion onto Ahimelech. Anyone who helped David, even innocently, is automatically an enemy in his eyes.
It's classic tyrannical thinking. There's no neutrality. You're either with him or against him. Innocent assistance becomes treason.
Ahimelech tries to defend himself, though, right?
He does, and his defense makes perfect sense. He points out David's status. Who's as loyal as David? Your son-in-law, captain of your guard, highly respected.
He's saying, look, this wasn't some random guy. Helping him was normal, given who he was.
Exactly, and he denies knowing anything about a conspiracy. Your servant knows nothing at all about this. He says inquiring of God for David wasn't unusual. He's pleading innocence, ignorance of any plot.
Totally reasonable defense. But for Saul,
It doesn't matter. Saul's mind is shut. His verdict is instant, absolute, brutal. You will surely die, Ahimelech, you and your father's whole family.
just like that. No trial, no mercy, just death. Based on Doeg's twisted report and Saul's own fear.
It shows the terrifying speed and finality of Saul's power when it's driven by paranoia. An entire family, a line of priests, condemned.
And it gets worse. He doesn't just pronounce the sentence, he orders it carried out immediately. Tells his own guards.
His personal bodyguards, yeah. Turn and kill the priests of the Lord. His justification. They sided with David because they knew he was fleeing and didn't tell Saul.
He's ordering his soldiers to murder unarmed priests, 85 of them.
It's a horrific command, but then something remarkable happens.
What's that?
The guards refuse. The text is explicit. They were not willing to raise a hand to strike the priests of the Lord.
Wow. Even Saul's own men wouldn't do it. They saw it was wrong, sacrilegious.
It's incredibly significant. These hardened soldiers drew a line. Maybe respect for the priests, maybe basic morality, but they refused a direct order from their king to commit this atrocity.
That must have infuriated Saul even more. His own guards disobeying him.
You have to imagine it deepened his sense of isolation and rage. So if his guards won't do it, who will?
He turns to Doeg.
The one person who seems eager to please Saul by acting against David and his perceived allies. Saul tells him, you turn and strike down the priests.
And Doeg complies.
Instantly. He kills 85 men. The text adds that detail. Who wore the linen ephod, emphasizing these were priests, servants of God. It's an attack on the religion itself, ordered by the king.
But it doesn't end with the priest, does it?
No. Doeg's brutality goes further. He attacks Nob, the town of the priests. He wipes out everyone.
Everyone.
Men, women, children, infants, even the livestock. Total annihilation. It's just devastating. Unchecked power, unchecked cruelty, fueled by Saul's fear and enabled by Doeg.
Just horrific. An entire community destroyed.
Yeah.
But one person escapes this massacre.
Yes. Abiathar, one of Ahimelech's sons. He somehow gets away and makes his way to David.
And he tells David what happened.
He brings the news. Saul has killed the priests of the Lord. This is how David finds out the consequence of his visit to Nob.
And David's reaction. This is really important, isn't it?
It's huge. He immediately sees the connection. He says to Abiathar, "That day when Dogeg the Edomite was there, I knew he would be sure to tell Saul." And then he says it. "I am responsible for the death of your father's whole family."
Wow. I'm responsible. He doesn't shy away from it.
No, he's not saying he did the killing, obviously. Saul and Dogeg that. But he recognizes his actions. Going to Nob, maybe the deception he used, created the situation. He saw Doeg, knew the risk, and his actions inadvertently led to this tragedy for the priests.
That's a heavy burden to take on, accepting that kind of indirect responsibility, understanding the ripple effects of his choices, even when he's just trying to survive.
It adds such depth to the story. It's not just good versus evil. David understands his part in the chain reaction.
And then what does he do for Abiathar, the survivor?
He offers him safety, refuge, echoing what happened at Adullam. He says, "Stay with me. Don't be afraid. You will be safe with me."
So that group, the distressed, the indebted, the discontented, now includes a priest, a refugee from Saul's tyranny.
Yeah, David's camp is becoming a sanctuary for those crushed by Saul's reign.
So looking back at the chapter,
Hmm.
it's a really tough journey. David finding followers, seeking God's direction.
Then Saul's terrifying paranoia, the accusations, Doeg's report.
Culminating in that horrific massacre at Nob.
It's a stark warning about fear, the abuse of power, and how easily truth can be twisted to justify terrible things.
And David's admission, "I am responsible," adds that layer of complexity. He's caught in this, but still sees his connection to the tragedy.
Right, which really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it?
Yeah. If David felt responsible even then, what does this chapter suggest to you about the unintended consequences, the ripple effects of our own actions? Even when we feel we're just reacting, just trying to get by under pressure,
Yeah.
how far does that responsibility extend?
That's definitely something to ponder, the weight of those ripples.